Welcome to the David Goad Show. I'm David Goad, but of course you knew that. And I like to bring guests on the show every now and then to answer questions that I get. I had a coaching client who had so much anxiety in front of the room, and she said it was because she felt like she had to run that show and she had to be perfect. And I said, wait a minute. Why don't you just make the audience work for you a little bit? Give yourself a break. And as soon as I started thinking and talking about audience interaction, I thought of my guest today, longtime friend, 16-year full-time entrepreneur, Mr. Stephen Richardson. Stephen, how you doing?
I am absolutely amazing, sir. Thank you for inviting me on the platform.
All right. Well, I love to see you speak, and here's one of the reasons why. I am not allowed to sit in one of your presentations and not do anything. I'm immediately drawn in, pulled in, and you reach out and pull me in to your presentation. So first of all, tell me, why do you do that? What's the value of audience interaction?
Well, I have given my share of speeches over the years. I was thinking earlier today, it's been at least 35 years I've been professionally giving speeches, either internally in companies or out there, traveling all the world doing what I do. And I understood that there's a difference between giving a speech and having a conversation. And when I'm able to have a conversation, whether it's one-on-one like you, even though I know we have thousands and thousands of people who will ultimately see this video, or if it's in front of a group, you can do certain things to bring the audience in and really, as you said, for the young lady you're giving coaching to, help them do some of the heavy lifting, but also bring more people into your conversation and really drive some points home.
And we're not talking about rhetorical questions where the audience, you're talking about actual questions, looking people in the eye, asking them their name, talking to them from the stage, right, while they're in the audience. And I've seen you do that a lot. And do you kind of size people up before you do that? Do you look for the willing, or do you look for the ones that are not paying attention? Or how do you decide who to interact with?
I'll usually have at least one person in the room who I know, maybe whether it's the person who hired me or the person who invited me, or just someone who I know because I'm part of the group. We call it a chemistry experiment. I go by how I feel. I will typically figure out what the question is before I get up to the front of the room. And just off the top of my head, if we were having a conversation about how to bring audiences into the conversation, the first thing out of my mouth I'd say, if there was a way that you could do something and bring the entire audience into you so that every single person in the room was paying attention, is that something you want to hear about? So I literally just did it off the top of my head, but it's that type of a question. And I would look, directly into someone's eyes, and I'd literally wait for an answer. May ask the, hey, raise your hand type of a question, but I will always ask a specific question to kick things off because it gets people brings their attention, kind of to a higher level. And it gives people the impression that I better pay attention because he might just call on me next.
Right. And I notice you don't waste the question either. It's not like, hey, who had coffee this morning? You actually ask a question because you're trying to get agreement from the audience that there's a problem that needs to be solved, right?
Well, I will always ask permission in the form of my questions to share whatever information I'm there to share. People like you and me have let's just say we developed the skill to be able to get people to basically to ask for what we want to share with them. And I'll always ask them a question, basically giving me permission to proceed.
I got you. Okay. So I don't know if everybody here has gone to church. At least you've seen one of the movies, right? Those really interactive churches where it's call and response. And I've seen you do this. I feel like sometimes I'm in church when I watch you speak. It's getting the audience to repeat even the same word or the same phrase over and over and over again. And why do you do that?
I didn't learn that anywhere, but it just is, it's worked well for me. And I found that if you repeat something, it makes sense when I say it, they believe it when they say it. So I'll always get somebody to say, the driving point home. And the background is not necessarily from church, but it's just understanding that if I can get them to interact with me, I can bring them in and they'll remember more about what I said later on.
All right. Well, amen on that. Okay. So I'm going to ask you another question. Always looking at at keeping it real here on the David Goad Show. Is there a point where people can take it too far? Like too much audience interaction? Maybe it's, it's all very situational. Depends on the meeting. But like in some business meetings, it can be too much, right?
It can be too much. And, in the beginning, just keep it simple. Ask maybe one or two questions at the very beginning. And you get the hang of it. And I didn't say it. I really want to say something, and that is that when people see us in front of a room and they may think that we have been put on this earth to speak in front of a group, that couldn't be further from the truth, as you know. It's something that we put a lot of work into. So this is not something that you're going to decide to ask questions and then put in 10, 15 questions for your next presentation. Just keep it simple. You'll figure it out over time. And really the punchline is you have to get your reps in to know what feels comfortable and what works best for you.
All right, I'm going to throw in, that's a great point. Now I want to throw in one pet peeve. Something when I see a speaker, it's usually more of an amateur or rookie, come to the front of the room. First thing out of their mouth is, good morning. And nobody says a word, right? Crickets. And what do they do next? I said, good morning. Like, no, you haven't earned a good morning yet. Say something that's relevant, get my attention, draw us into the speech or the presentation. And I just had to throw that one in there. I just get that one. Okay.
I would hop in. I would say that either way. If I'm going to say good morning and I know someone in the room, I'd say, hey, David, good morning. He'll say good morning. Good morning. Hey, how about everybody? Good morning. There's always a way to get people to interact with you.
Totally different. See, I love the way you go about this, Stephen. Okay, so we got just a couple of, about 1 minute left here.
Okay.
I'll give you the last word. So again, think about that person I was talking to at the beginning, had a lot of anxiety about and feeling the pressure of doing everything from the lectern perfectly and having to run the whole show. And she hasn't really bought off or figured out how to do this audience interaction thing. Give me 30 seconds or so on what you would tell her, what advice you would give to her for her next presentation.
Relax. That's it. Just relax. Have a conversation with people who you care about something that you know, and just relax. That's really it. Ask questions, make eye contact, meaningful eye contact where you look them in the eyes, hold it an extra beat, then go to the next person. Try to really literally focus on one person, then the next person, and most of the room will actually think you're looking directly at them. Just have fun. You're supposed to be having fun when you're doing this. And people can tell if you're nervous, they can tell if you've prepared, and they can tell if you're just having a conversation with someone who you care about.
Well, I'm having fun talking to you. Can you tell?
Absolutely.
Stephen, it's been great catching up with you again. And again, folks, just to wrap up, it's having a conversation. Use audience interaction as a way to make them work for you a little bit. Give yourself a breather, moment to even take a drink of water, ask some questions, but your audience will also feel like you're one of them and you really care what they think and you really care that they're going to get your message. So that's the value of interaction and conversation. Stephen, thanks so much for joining me today. And I want to do more with you because I know you're a treasure trove of information. Would you come back for another show?
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
All right, my friend. Have a good one. And thank you for watching today. David Goad Show, signing off.